I'm Pastor Joshua Henson, Northside Church of God in Perry. 7 months ago, we had a wore-down, termite-infested building that was falling apart. 7 months ago, I went to Life Builders, and now, in the last 6 months, that entire operation has turned into a food ministry that's putting out about 4,000, 8,000 pounds a month of food. I just want to tell you what happened at Life Builders. It was the most life-changing experience of my personal ministry and for this church. Bruce Steele, I believe, was there from a divine appointment of God. He spoke a message that just began very simply with, "Her name is Vanessa." And as he told his story, it totally began to convict me. God's Spirit began to deal with me. And as he finished his sermon, he just simply said, "In your town, there's a Vanessa." And those words just began to penetrate my heart, and God began to deal with me. And as we were sitting there, I began to just cry and weep, and I began to think about what God had for us here. And God spoke something to my heart that was just as real today as it's ever been. And it was simply, it's time to stop dreaming, and it's time to start doing. And as I sat there, I began to think about the dream that God put in my heart for this church. And it just began to do, as God began to deal with me, I just took it and I brought it back. That Sunday morning, we played Bruce Steele's video, and our church was weeping and crying. And I told him what God spoke to me, that it was time for us to stop dreaming. It was time to start doing. And at that very moment, I had people begin to come up and our church began to rally around us. And within a week, we had everything donated to begin a full food ministry, transient assistance program, and a clothing ministry. And as of today, we, again, 4,000 to 8,000 pounds of food. Last month, we ministered to 105 people in Perry, and we have seen 30 transients come through this ministry. And what God showed me was this, that every church, doesn't matter how big or how small, can begin to stop dreaming and start doing something with whatever God's given them. And I just believe that's what God's called us to, and it's changed my life, it's changed our ministry here, and it was all because of Life Builders, April 2010. I went to Life Builders this year, and I didn't even want to go. The only reason I came was because I had one man in my church that wanted to go, and I said if he wanted to go, I'd go with him. And so I went, and it convinced me. You can't convince your guys, and some of them would probably think that it's going to be lame and ridiculous, but when they get there, it's going to totally change their lives. I'm a believer now. I've come back to our church and I told our men that we are going to do whatever it takes to get them to come back, even if the church pays for it ourselves, to make sure our men get to go. I wasn't a believer. I thought it was just another one of those schemes to get guys together to fellowship, but it was the most impactful thing that's happened in my own life in a very long time. And so all I can tell you is somehow convince them, because when they get there, they're going to thank you for it. Hey guys, if you know anything about buildings that were built in the 40s and 50s, you know 3 doors on the outside represents segregation. You had one bathroom for the white women, one bathroom for the white men, and then one door for the African American people. Today, this building is used to feed African Americans, white folks, it doesn't matter. It's feeding everybody. And actually, the Cocoa Office Church, Union Street Church of God, uses it every single week to feed people in their church as well. And so a symbol of segregation is now being used to minister to multiple cultural backgrounds. This room back here, just 7-8 months ago, was not being used because it was so moldy and nasty that it wasn't even able to be used for Sunday school rooms. Actually, I came in here the week after Life Builders, after God had spoken to me to turn this into a food ministry, and right here at the bottom of this floor, there were actually 6-inch termite trees that had begun to develop. The man told me from the pest control company that in 6 months this building would have fallen in because of subterranean termites had taken over the building. And so if we would not have started this food ministry, and if God wouldn't have done this in this church, then we would have lost this building in the next 6 months, or right now we would have lost this building. It seemed like all we wanted to do was deal with church fights, so I was just happy not fighting. So I was too busy not fighting, enjoying life. And God said, now it's time to move forward. Stop worrying about all the church problems and let's focus. And so we went forward, and we have not had a single problem at our church because we're too busy working on this. It's been a great ministry, and our church is just moving forward. We've got new people now on Wednesday nights running more than we do on Sunday mornings. I can't explain it, but we are. Because of this, we have people coming. As a matter of fact, this Sunday morning we had 3 new families that came. 2 of those families came because of the food ministry. So it's amazing how God uses something like this to begin to help your church as well. So it's pretty cool. Bruce Steele ended his story with a lady named Vanessa, and I want to tell you about a lady named Delora. She too was an African American woman who was in desperate need of help. She was one of the first people we were able to help outside of our community. She's a member of another church, but she was in trouble. Her daughter is 6 years old with autism. She was so severely autistic that she had to quit her job to take care of her child. Now that her daughter is able to go to school, Delora's looking for a job, couldn't find a job. They have no money, no food in their house. All they have is her mother, 68 years old, was working to support the entire family. Her 3 children, her father, and her mother, living off of a meager income of probably minimum wage. She comes to me, she says, "Pastor, this is the first ministry like this in Perry, and I'm asking for your help. I have no help." Well, as we gave her food, we gave her enough, probably about 100 pounds of food that day. We fed her, we gave it to her. She was so excited. I gave her daughter, her autistic daughter, some candy that we had in our refrigerator. As I gave it to her, as we put it in her car, she just came up with tears in her eyes, hugging me and saying, "Thank you, for this is the first church that's actually been able to do something really helpful in our lives since I've moved to Perry." That's just another great story of what God can do through these situations. So in your town, there is a Delora, and in your town, God can use your church to touch a life just like God's done for us here. Now you need to come to Life Builders. It's your turn to do something great in your community.
I'm loving life 'cause I've been forgiven. I'm loving life 'cause I've been forgiven.